Ladies and gentlemen, I am Israel. It is the 5th of September 2017. It is 7 PM British Summer Time, 6 PM Universal Coordinated Time. Everyone else can do their own maths. And it's also mic check time, more or less. This is the work in progress Tier 8 Premium Japanese battleship, the Kii. Not the Kirishima, that's down at Tier 5 with the other Kongo sisters. Although, standing in today, we do have everyone's favourite psychopathic murderous teddy bear. She was handy, and it's kind of nice to have a captain that doesn't quite adjust the stats. So, the Kii. At first glance, you could be forgiven for thinking that all they've done is slap some torpedo tubes on an amagi, and in truth, that's not too far what the Japanese design actually was, because the history of this ship goes back to around about 1907. The Japanese, after they've beaten the Russians in 1905, decide that they are going to have their next big strategic threat from the United States of America. America has just gone and annexed Hawaii. They're setting up a friendly government in the Philippines. They're getting cozy with the Chinese. American immigration policies aren't perhaps great if you're Japanese and trying to move over. Some things perhaps don't always change given current events, but I try not to get political on this stream. Basically, they're looking at the Americans and thinking, you know what, we might have some trouble here. So they go and look at the American Navy, and there's a theoretical size of the US Navy of 25 battleships and armoured cruisers. So the Japanese plans go to work, and what they come up with is the idea of the 8-8 fleet. 8 battleships and 8... Well, it started out as armoured cruisers, it turned into battle cruisers fairly quickly, but that was what they figured they'd need to defend against an aggressive United States. So, of course, that was what they tried to get the money for out of the government. And the Naval General Staff went to the Navy Ministry and said, hey, we want to build 8 battleships and 8 battle cruisers. The Navy Ministry looked at them and said, you must be crazy. We'll go to the politicians and ask for 7 battleships and 3 armoured cruisers. They go to the politicians. The politicians look at the proposal and say, you must be crazy. Eventually recommending 1 battleship and 4 battle cruisers, which the Japanese Parliament, the Diet, authorises in 1911. These ships are the Fuso, the battleship, and the 4 Kongo sisters. They don't quite give up on this, however, in the Navy. In 1913, they get authorization for another 3 battleships. Yamashiro, Fuso's younger sister, along with Issei and Hyuga. Those 2 aren't in game. They were basically modifications of the Fuso class, although they'd later gain a bit more infamy as aviation battleships. Basically, you took a Fuso, pulled off the rear turrets and stuck a flight deck on the back instead. It was an idea that was perhaps ahead of its time, since no one had invented the helicopter or the Stovall jet aircraft yet. Of course, in 1914, World War I breaks out. The Japanese get a few minor scraps with the Germans over the German colonies, but mostly they sit it out. But the Navy proposes some more battleships, because hey, why not? There's a war on. And the Diet turns around and says, you must be kidding, in 1915. In 1916, however, they do relent a little. They agree to another battleship, they agree to 2 more battle cruisers, and in 1917, when they find out the US Navy is planning to build 10 more battleships and 6 battle cruisers, they go, oh, maybe we do need a bigger navy. So they authorise 3 more battleships in 1917, 2 more battle cruisers in 1918. So by that point, you've got the Fusos, the Isseis, the Kongos. Your new ships are the 2 Nagato battleships, Nagato and Mutsu, as well as a gunned-up version of the Nagato in the shape of the Tosa class. Basically, what they did was take a Nagato and stretch out this midsection to give you enough room to mount a 5th 16-inch turret, so 10 guns in total. Which then brings us on to the battle cruisers. They were going for 4 of these, and these were the Amagis. And if this looks kind of like a stretched out Nagato with a 5th turret, well, that's basically what it was. The Amagi design was a Tosa class that was more or less slimmed down to allow it to hit battle cruiser style speeds. So we get to 1918, and they have at least got the authorization to finally build an 8-8 fleet. Then someone points out that at this stage, the Kongos and the Fusils are now 10 years plus old and heading that way, and their 14-inch guns really aren't top of the line anymore, so, oh wait, no, we're suddenly back to a 4-4 fleet, and, oh dear, we need to build another 4 battleships and another 4 battlecruisers in order to keep things going. So, the 4 battleships were the number 13 class. We may see these in game one of these days. They were designed but never laid down. 457mm guns, by the way. Think Nagato but upgunned, well, Tosa but upgunned again. And the 4 new battlecruisers were going to be the Kiis. This gets us up to 1922, and in 1922, of course, the Washington Naval Treaty lands, and all the planning goes straight in the bin. Everything, with the exception of Nagato and Mutsu, along with, well, initially it was going to be Amagi and Kaga, were on the chopping block. Eventually, of course, the Great Kanto earthquake forced a revision of what ships were going to be converted into carriers, so instead of Amagi, it was Akagi that got the conversion. But the Kiis, the number 13s, never saw service, never saw action. Until now, in World of Warships, and we finally get to see what they can do. Now, I have to stress that this ship is firmly work in progress. Cool, this is what you get for not following my Twitter, @Userall. Go and do it. Do it now. Ah. Right, while he's doing that, where was I? Train of thought has temporarily gone. Oh yes, the Kii. As I said, you could be forgiven for thinking that this is basically an Amagi, and you wouldn't be too far wrong, because all they did was trade off about a knot of speed to get some slightly better armour. So, the artillery is 5x2 410mm L45 rifles. Exact same rifles you have on the Amagi. I believe the exact same rifles, or at least close to the ones on the Nagato as well. 16-inch guns, pretty much standard for Tier 8, and very much the standard ABPXY configuration. Note that the P-turret cannot superfire aft, so if you want to get 6 barrels firing aft, get used to flashing just a little bit of broadside. She has traded off some speed for all of this, of course, so she only does 29.5 knots. Yeah, it could be worse. That's still perfectly workable. Still faster than the North Carolina. And what she shares with the North Carolina is that they beef up the secondary armament. So you'll notice that instead of Amagi's dual-purpose 12.7cm guns, and not that many of them either, only, I believe it's 8x2 in total, so 4 on each side, 2 on the main deck and 2 on the elevated superstructure. Kii instead switches over to the 10cm gun. Yes, folks, this thing has got an Akizuki strapped to either side to provide its flak, and as a consequence, the 10cm flak's pretty nice, 166 out to 5 kilometers baseline, along with some homebrew Bofors stars. The Japanese, I believe, did actually try to get the Bofors design. I'm just not sure they ever actually deployed it. Another 176 out to 3.5. Remember, this is before captain skills, but I believe I've got... No, I don't even have the anti-air modules fitted to this ship at the moment. And at close range, you have got a grand total of 17 triple 25mm bouts. So as anti-air goes, it's not too shabby, at least by the standards of Japanese battleships, which generally tend to be a bit weaker than this at Tier 8. Secondary armament, well, you've got the high explosive of the 10cm guns, the Type 98s, 1700 damage, 3 second refire, so 20 rounds a minute. Firing range is a little disappointing, 5.3 kilometers, but you have that whopping 1000 meter a second shell velocity. The gunners are still drunk, by the way, and since your focus in captain skills is likely to be on your anti-air boosts, boosting the flak air, that's a secondary boosting the secondaries is a secondary consideration. I suppose that's kind of appropriate, really. So, other secondaries, unfortunately, are the 14cm guns, and yes, they're still firing armor piercing. Okay, the muzzle velocity isn't bad, 850 meters a second, but that refire of 8 seconds, eesh. That is 7.5 rounds a minute, give or take, and you've only got 4 guns on either side, so don't go expecting miracles from the secondaries on this thing. The main battery, I need to stress, I already know that the main battery is going to get buffed. At the moment, 35-second reload. That's going down to 31. 180-degree turn of 54.5 seconds. That is coming down to 45 seconds. Dispersion 203 meters on a sigma of 1.7 compared to Armagi's dispersion of 227 meters at a total of sigma 1.8. So Armagi is marginally more consistent. Kii is perhaps a little bit tighter. It's very much a balance thing, very finely judged. Damage, of course, well, these are the same guns firing the same ammo, so 6,500 and 30% fire chance on the high explosive, 12,500 on the armor piercing. If you've been spoiled by the Royal Navy battleships, sorry, these shells are not in fact soaked in sake, as much of a disappointment as that may be. As I said, flat identical to the Armagi. Worth noting that Armagi B with the upgraded fire control has got slightly better range, 19.9 kilometers. Kii at the moment has got a maximum range of 18.7. I believe that's getting buffed up to around about 19.2, 19.3. So again, it's going to be in line for some buffs, but that's a problem for later. We'll stick in a basic captain because why not? Okay, and we are set to go. Blast is off, battle engaged, let's go kill some ships. Okay, and this is about as nasty as it's gonna get. 2 Yamatos, 2 North Carolinas, a Bismarck, a Zhao, a Moskva. Okay, this could this could hurt. This could hurt rather badly. On the bright side, we've got some similarly friendly battleships to hide behind, and a Minotaur and a Zhao to deal with the destroyers. So, yeah, could be much, much worse. Of course, it's probably going to get much, much worse before it gets any better, especially since all the heavy stuff is over the other side. Now, this thing, same main battery as an Armagi, similar armor scheme to an Armagi, similar performance to an Armagi. Basically, I'm going to try and play her like an Armagi, which means hanging back a little and working around about the 14 to 16 kilometer range bracket. So rather than... Yes, off we go indeed. So rather than barreling in towards the enemy at point C, which will be a horrible idea, I'm going to turn starboard. I'm going to tuck in behind the real heavies of the battle line, and we'll let them tonk for us just for a bit. It is most definitely not. In fact, not even slightly. In many respects, Armagi is arguably superior to Kii, most notably with the slightly better main guns, although that's going to change a little. It's not going to be quite as distinct as it was. Okay, right, so turning in towards the flank, letting the tier 10s take point, although they also don't appear too inclined to take point either. And we'll just pull over. Actually, no, I'm not going to make the turn, so I'm going to have to go to port and go around the island to the south, which is not brilliant, but guns off, track round, start thinking about acquiring a target. Ooh, North Carolina, he's out of range of the main battery at the moment. Of course, I can get another mile or so by popping the spotter aircraft, and that should just about put him in range. So you know what? Spotter away. Line it up. Let's see, he's doing about 27 knots and rounds out. Okay, let's see. There's the dispersion. Come on, where are those shells? Pretty tight, it has to be said. Rounds coming down. But as you noticed, 1 hit, 1 shatter, and 1 bounce at 18 kilometers. Not great. Is our Minotaur over taking his time to load up? Yes, he is. Oh, solid. So, kinda happy, happiest at long range. Oh, Neptune to bully. Stopped Neptune to bully, in fact. Excuse me. The other thing, and again, this is something they're buffing because, you know, turret speed is getting an improvement. We'll just give him the good news. Again, watch the shells if we can find them. There they are. Pretty tight. RNG was kind, that salvo. Smacked him for 10,000, 4 overpens. I got my lead calculation wrong, basically. So that's the fault of my aim, not the ship's gunnery. Few long distance hits from, I think that was from Biscuit, but 15-inch against 45-degree plate. Yeah, not too shabby. That Yamato, however, oh dear, don't... Look the other way, please, Yamato. And while we're waiting for Yamato to look the other way, torpedo arc's pretty generous. I think you'll agree, almost 30 degrees off the bow, and you can fire these things almost, well, 20 degrees off the stern. So if a Tirpitz does try to rush you, then you're gonna give him a nasty surprise. Not a fatal one, mind you, because the torpedoes aren't brilliant. They only do 14,500 damage. They do 63 knots. They have a 6-kilometer range. Basically, if you think the standard torpedoes on the Mutsuki, then you're not too far off the mark. Rounds out. Let's see if we can pan over there. I don't know. This looks pretty good, but the Artigo is turning. Caught him with one on the right-hand salvo, 4,000 damage. Any idea how much she'll be? No. Wargaming have not said anything about price, Pecky Boy. However, Tier 8 battleship, so if you go looking at the likes of Tirpitz or an Alabama, that's probably going to be a reasonable price guide. But this is work in progress. Everything is subject to change. That includes her price. Right, so we've got A, they've got B. They're murdering our destroyer over in C, which is not good. Yes, I know it's not good, Kirishima. Try to keep hold of the microphone. Okay, let's line up on this Artigo again, give it a bit less lead, and smack. Also, try not to rear-end the Montana. Right, well that's the X rating on this stream, isn't it? And, oop, well the Artigo's almost had it. I think the Montana's going to finish him with the next broadside. Not even sure why he's stopped, but I can't risk firing while he's in the way like that, so pull forwards. There we go. Interestingly, he's targeting the Hipper. Okay, I would have gone for a finishing shot on the Artigo myself, but fair enough. Artigo is turning. Steady, and rounds out. Ooh, I think I might have blown the windows out of his bridge, but not to worry. Let's see, where are those going? Oh, here we are. No Pampakapan. A pity. Right, well, might get one more salvo into the Artigo. It is going to die before I lose this shot. I am not having that many 8-inch guns floating about, but as noted, this is where the 35-second reload hurts, and while I'll be very happy when she gets pulled down to 31. So, coming, and there we go. Rounds out. Semi-blind shot, but RNGesus, don't fail me now. RNGesus failed me. Right, okay, well we've lost the shot on the Artigo, so it's going to get a chance to heal up and break away, which means I need something else to aim at, and that Moskva... Yeah, if he gives us a bit more angle, he'll do very nicely. That Neptune's over there as well, judging from the fact that he's spitting low caliber armor piercing. Apparently it's hot all of a sudden. Can't imagine why. Just pop a repair party. Will contain that. So, turn starboard. Don't really need to duck into the smoke, but oops. Our Minotaur got fun and engaged. Well, I can't say I'm wildly surprised by that. It wasn't like he added very much in the course of this battle, and in fact he added absolutely nothing. So... Right. I'm sorry, I resent the accusation that we're stupid. Okay, oh, there you are. Speaking of stupid, oh. First round's out, we'll just try and hold the aim point. Blam blam. 2, is that all? Oh, and we're on fire again. In fact, we're on fire multiple places. Get that out now. And as a consequence, you notice I've wandered a bit too close. So we'll turn away. The other problem that she's got is that, yes, she does catch fire quite a bit if she's got multiple tier 10 cruisers shooting at her. Lay off, guys. Okay, maybe we can get a shot at this Zhao. Or maybe not, because it's ducked back into stealth. Right, no matter. North Carolina. Arms the torpedoes. Get those into the running. Bit of a snapshot, but I'll take it. Load armor piercing. He's going to get a shot before I do. Jink. Turn, 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 turn. Blam. The other problem with Kii's rotation at the current speeds is that, well, she has some difficulty keeping her guns on target. But let's just follow these torpedoes and see where they go. This game's a dead loss anyway. Still, we might just... No, we're not. Huh. We're not even going to get the justification of a couple of torpedoes. Oh, no, we might scrape one. No, we're not, because they're out of range. These things only have a 6-kilometer maximum range. Yeah, somewhat annoying. So, we'll finish matters off. Just watch the rest of this carnage as the Benson beats the Montana to death. Well, nibbles it to death, really. Oh dear. And the Alabama, well, that was a good size comparison between a Montana and an Alabama, if nothing else. That's how much speed tonnage you need to add to get an extra shot. Nice smoke swing there from Ariba, but not quite Ariba enough, I would say. Montana's only on 2,500 health. Hopefully he's got a repair party left. La Forge next week. I will probably be doing that. Yes, it should be interesting. Of course, he's popped up in the series before in the game, but never been voiced. So hopefully they'll have gotten LeVar Burton to go back and do all the ouch. There goes the Calero. So hopefully they will have gotten him to go back and do some of his character's older lines in the previous expansions as well. Right, so that was not a good start. Really not a good start. 538 XP, ouch. We got our asses thoroughly kicked there, didn't we? So, let's tweak things around a bit. We'll pull the murderous teddy bear. Oh, hello, Dach. Yeah, why not? We'll pull the murderous teddy bear off the battleship and replace it with a proper captain, one which actually has anti-air spec. So let's just quickly go over what that's done to the anti-air. In fact, we'll plug in a few other bits and pieces as well, just tweak the fit. So pull off the aiming modification. That, by the way, is the principal reason the main battery was more accurate than Armagi. So if we fit in anti-air mod instead, we'll just flog that. So the main battery baseline is 218, fractionally more accurate than the Armagi. You would be very hard pressed to spot the difference in normal circumstances. However, with the anti-air boosted, we have now got 7.2 kilometers and 166 DPS, doubling up on manual, of course. 176 out to 5 kilometers on the mid-range and 104 to 4.4 on the close. So it's a pretty decent anti-air fit. In fact, if we go and compare to the North Carolina, again with anti-air range mod and, well, manual anti-air installed, if not the other two, so we'll need to add 10% range. Yoink. Let's see, so the Bofors, again, will punch out to 7.2, 151, fractionally weaker than the 10cm guns. The 40mm guns just nail it. 238 DPS against, what, 150 something? And, of course, the 20mm guns edge it. So North Carolina has got somewhat heavier mid-range anti-air, but she is slightly slower, and I don't think she's quite as stealthy. 13.7. I could be about to make an utter fool of myself here. 15.6. In fact, she's considerably stealthier, although that's a relative term on a battleship at the best of times. So, ready it up, grab another key, and we'll see what Dach goes for by way of a tier 8. Which, by the way, is where we're going to be spending a good chunk of this evening's stream. Incidentally, if anyone else wants to come along, you're more than welcome to. Just drop Dach a line since he's got division lead. When he's ready. Okay. Aha, right, he's taking a Lexington. Right, let's see what the Kii's flak can do. And it's another interesting game. Okay, bottom tier 810, this is what you expect for tier 8, of course, especially around prime time. So, Lex on Lex, let me see. Oh, ho ho, 48 air rating on a Lex. Well, far be it from me to comment. Still, Minotaur, Hindenburg, Moskva. We'll see where this goes. I am just wondering if we've got 2 strike Lexes here. In which case, well, the flak's going to get a workout. So... oh, the Armagi with torps. That's not a bad sum up. And the Ducky on each side, of course.
Battle starts.
Duck, he had the same aircraft rating as you, so whatever you've got, I think he's got as well. So, rudder starboard, we're just going to detour through D, I think. Yes, this is unsupported, but this thing does 29.5 knots. Hopefully I'll have enough speed to turn around and run away while baiting the enemy onto guns. I think the answer is any of us. North Carolina, as noted, has got slightly stronger mid-range. And, of course, well, Bismarck is Bismarck. So, let's toddle on down towards D, 29.5 knots, see if anyone else has gone that way. And, well, we'll take it from there. Oh, yep, and both sides, I think, have gone strike Lex. So, this is going to be something of a bomber fest. Let's hope the anti-air is up to it on both sides. Let the war of the flak guns begin. Also, I'm slightly regretting not packing a spotter. Key, like tier 8 battleships, I believe, does have the option for a catapult fighter if she wants it. And occasionally that's not a bad idea, but we'll start with this Hindenburg. Just administer a little love tap. May have given it a bit too much lead. Then again, maybe not. Rounds coming down. And completely straddled the target for no damage. Like I say, RNG can mess you about on this if you're not careful. So, looks like we're squaring off to duel against a Bismarck. Oh, and there's an Armagi as well. Right. I'm going to need that air support. Torpedo bombers going in. Main battery is almost loaded. Let's see. Switch to high explosive for following salvos. First bomb, yep, strike Lex on the other side as well, as suspected. Right, so torpedoes made a valiant suicidal charge against the Bismarck. Not sure if they flooded him or not, but we'll find out in a second. Armor-piercing load away. Turn away from point D, because I don't want to get close to a Bismarck. And smacked him, well, 1 pen, a shatter, and 3 bounces. So, armor-piercing, not great in this situation. Switch to the high explosive and wish you'd bought British instead. So, target. Oh, he's not in a hurry to advance, is he? Huh. May just be waiting for the Armagi to close up the range. Ooh, shouldn't have sat still, my friend. That's, what, 3 fires? Well, let's make it 4. Have some more high explosive. Sake infused, bottles folded 1,000 times. Gun sights completely out of their head on said sake. Alright. Yes, Lex... I don't know. Oh yeah, it did just delete the Neptune, didn't it? This is why I don't like strike Lex. There's very little you can do about it. If it, on the one hand, you either run into enemy fighters, in which case there's very little you can do, or the enemy's also gone strike Lex, in which case it's a race to see who can get the most damage done. Let's hit the Armagi instead. And then turn away. Lock guns. Armagi's other advantage, along with Key, is that she's got these 3 turrets aft, so smack! Okay, he's actually got that fire under control, so turning away means I'm going to find it fairly easy to get 3 turrets back on target, in this case onto the what's left of that Bismarck. Just going to ignore the Armagi for a second. I want this Bismarck put down fast and hard. Just take his guns out of the equation. Because once he does that, we can start a turn, we can get close, and we should be able to give the enemy Armagi a rather nasty surprise. Kaboom! Right, so one more broadside high explosive will be bow on, and then by the time everything's reloaded, we'll be closing to kill range. So he's gone bow in. Right, bow on. Rounds out. Stern turrets did not fire. Huh. Annoying. No matter. Smacked him. Bounced, embarrassingly enough, and he's just killed our Bismarck. But fair enough. Torpedoes in the water. 4 hits. Nice shooting, Dach. And the Armagi is turning. So we'll lock secondaries. Closing to range. And the moment we get this shot, we will target for waterline, then go bow in, dump the torpedoes, turn again. Wait. Where did all those enemy warships come from? Okay, start patching that damage back. Change of plan. We may have to clobber the Minotaur with the rear guns and try for the Armagi with the front guns. This could be about to get dicey. Secondaries have engaged. We are now on multiple targets. Okay, keep the stern turrets cranking around. Just lock them. I need to watch our vector of approach onto El Blue Jay. Make sure he doesn't get a ram. Moskva is also getting a little uppity. Right, so torpedoes are lined and launched. Moskva is in position, angled, and rounds out. Kill the Armagi, stop that fire, clip the Moskva, and oh, hello, Biscuit. This is not good. This is very not good. German battleship? Yeah, you know what? Let's get close and give him what for. Armor, well, Key, it's not quite so easy, especially not with multiple ships ganged up on me like this. And yet the Moskva decided it was going to have me. So yeah, Tier 8 battlecruiser does not stop Tier 10 Russian railguns. I can't say I'm wildly surprised by this revelation. Still, 43,000 damage and a torpedo hit. Rip indeed. Didn't even manage to get into point D, and well, we are technically winning, which is something of a surprise. Mostly because they've caught the enemy Lex, and the rest of the enemy fleet just folded like the proverbial sack of wet cards. So I think we will write that off as a glorious and valiant delaying action. Cough. As far as main gun range goes, at the moment it is 18.5. It's going up to 19.2, 19.3 in the next patch before you get some more testing. Frame rate has just stuttered. Now that's curious. The game is fine. Okay, am I dropping frames? XSplit says no. Game has not crashed. The stream, however, may have done. Game is absolutely fine. Oh, right, your game crashed, Duck. Yeah, we are winning. We are winning 468 to 201, and no thanks to you or me, although we did valiantly delay the enemy. Silverlane, however, is getting him, probably going to get himself a cruck, and if any of the enemy will be obliging enough to sail in front of his guns. If any of the enemy will be obliging enough to sail in front of his guns. We haven't actually seen any of the 3 ships that are left, the Moskva, the Bismarck, and the Minotaur. They may just be biding their time, trying to work out how best not to commit suicide. Or they're just dragging it out to its slow but inevitable conclusion. Who knows? Yeah, Lexington's air groups are... I think the politest thing to say about the Lexington's air groups is that they're out of date. Although that could be an accusation. You could level at the Armaghy as well, with all the new super heavy cruisers and the British battleships that have come in of late. Of course, that does then bring you back into the question of, well, is the Kii balanced? Well, she is actually, by the standards of the Japanese battleship. She's not that far removed from the Armaghy, and therefore she's not that far removed from the Armaghy's balance. Is she in trouble if she gets into a fight against multiple other ships? Well, yeah, you just saw a demonstration of that. Hello, Relum Time. It's gotten painful, I think is the politest way to put it. Also, I note that Minotaur is actually from MDivX. No wonder he's had a actually, he hasn't had that good a game. I say that as he gets on the wrong side of a Bismarck's main guns and gets 2/3 of, well, a little more than half his health ripped off in short order. And the only reason he's still breathing is because Super Strike Eagle was focused on the Moskva instead of him. Still, that will doubtless change very quickly once someone realises that there is a broadside British cruiser directly under his guns. Come on, you can get your shells over that island, mate. Do it. Do it. Do it. Hit the Minotaur. Hit the... Oh, never mind. Yoink. Decided to set the Moskva on fire instead. Not that it really worked. Meanwhile, the Russian mini battleship is valiantly steaming towards vastly superior enemy. Silverlane gets his Kraken and almost got him. Just need to quietly murder down the last of this Moskva. Torpedoes ripping through empty water. Otto's under, well, Silverlane might be about to bag his 6th, you never know, although I don't think he's going to waste his main batteries on that. Strike Eagle gets his 2nd, so just leaves one Bismarck against a Grosse Kurfürst, a Bismarck, a Hindenburg, another Hindenburg, a Mogami, and a Minotaur. I'm thinking we know how this one's going to end. The strikes are indeed like the Fist of God smiting your enemy. Unfortunately, if the enemy has got fighters and they are up to the job, then the Fist of God will be not so much smiting as gently patting on the head. Assuming it even gets to it, the head of its intended victim at all. Right. So... Blam blam blam, blam blam blam, blam 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 blam. I tell them just to finish him up, but that Bismarck has done the sensible thing. He's gone stern on. He's trying, I think, to simultaneously angle against a Kurfürst's main battery and a Bismarck. Well, he's got cover on the Bismarck, so expect to see a port turn in a second because he can angle tightly against the Kurfürst, but actually he might... Yeah, there's the turn. He's trying to angle a bit more steeply while he's got the advantage of cover. Perfectly reasonable defensive tactics, but at this point he's got nothing left to defend, except possibly pride. Stern batteries pointed at the Kurfürst. Wait for the shot. Just once number 3 battery comes on. Oh no, he's thought better of it. He's lining up on Strike Eagle instead. Or maybe not. He has got far too many targets, far too many people shooting at him. Ever get the feeling you've won a popularity contest? Well, it's something you don't want to do in this game. Yeah. I agree, Lex in the right circumstances, i.e. with no enemy fighters and an enemy fleet that can't run air defense, is basically 6 or 7 presses of the delete button. Or it's completely useless if the enemy does know how to run air defense. It's a very awkward thing to balance, kind of like carriers in general, really. Carriers, particularly tier 8+, maybe tier 7 as well, it's so dependent on the enemy carrier driver's skill level as to what you can and can't accomplish, and the influence you can and can't have on the game. Anyhow, 43,000 damage, not brilliant. Oh, Kurfürst Silverlane did get his 6th kill, and we were floating down in the mid-ranges. What a surprise. Okay, back to port. Let's see if we jam on some flags this time and just see where it goes. Also, we have a box to collect. So let's jam on India Delta, Sierra Mike. Yes, I am aware that there's not much point in taking XP flags on this thing. I'm trying to stack up Commander and free XP at the moment. Listen, I'm still 500,000 off my Missouri, so I am going to do what I can to get there. We'll also slap on a November Echo Set 7 just for that magical 100 anti-air rating. So, what's in the box? Let's see. What's in the box? Come on. Give me a box. Give me a box. Give me a box. Come on, come on, come on. This whole super container favouring streamers thing, yeah, it's a myth. Or at least if it does, then, well, aside from that one time with the Arizona, it's... oh, another little step. Another 0.1% of my misery. Misery. Depends which end of the guns you're on. Okay, so fully upgraded at this point. We have got November Echo Set as 7. We have got the flak range engaged. We have got on the captain basic... I know, we can still wangle another 10% out of the guns by slapping on basic firing training. So that's worth bearing in mind. Although we would need a 17-point captain to make that work. Ha ha. So, anti-air defense. So, 114 going up to 125, 126 with BFT. 194 going up to 213, again, give or take. Do I need to sacrifice more gnomes? I tried sacrificing gnomes, it didn't work, remember? And then, of course, we have 183 damage on the long-range flak, so still somewhat behind the North Carolina, but at least not as bad as the Armagee. Alright, let's go again. Box does indeed say nope.